Hey, and welcome everybody. Don Giannetti here from lighting-essentials.com and project52prosystem.com. I've even got a website with just my name, dongiannetti.com. If you're looking for ideas on the business side of photography, check it out. Okay, well, I'm back with another one of my little special things I call What Makes This Photo Great. We're on number 20 already. Oh my God, that seems like so fast. And today we're talking about Mark Tucker. Now, Mark Tucker is a photographer. When I first ran across Mark Tucker's work, he was in Nashville, Tennessee. And the first thing that I saw from him was a client brought over some photographs. I believe the client brought over the Jack Daniels calendar. I think he had about 3 calendars, and Mark Tucker had done those calendars. This was like the Mark Tucker has gone through many iterations. He reinvents himself all the time, which is what you should do, by the way. Lots of reinvention. And the shots now, when you look at them, they're maybe a little dated. They got that sort of Photoshop background and stuff. But at the time, they were pretty damn awesome. I want to say this was early 2000s, maybe. I don't know. Can't remember. I can't remember what I had for breakfast today. So, remembering when I saw him. But anyway, knocked me out. First thing I did, went to his website, knocked me out. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Lots of very commercial work in his portfolio. Lots of very, I remember a young lady a young father and a son looking out a window airplane seat. I mean, it was very, very commercial work. And then Mark did a blog called A Day With, and he would go and spend a day with different artists in the Nashville area and photograph them for the day and use all sorts of formats. So he would take 4x5, medium format, half frame, digital, and just shoot a bunch of different stuff. It was fantastic. If you can find it, and if Mark hears this, I hope he makes it available. If you can find it, it's absolutely incredible. What a great storytelling thing that was. And I just kept on following. He got into 10 plate about 10 years ago, shooting 10 plate. And man, just got to be really, really good at it. The link to his website is down below. So I want you to go and visit his website. I want you to see what he's up to now. But I'm going to talk a little bit about how he influenced me and what I liked about his photographs, new and old, and how we were able to use some of the ideas that he did in the calendar, the very personal, presenting the people of a whiskey company, basically, as just good old folks you'd want to hang out with, and it was really well done. Jack Daniels, if you can find that calendar by Mark Tucker, I imagine it would be a collector's item at this point. So let's take a look at the first shot here. We're going to get 4 in a row from that old calendar shoot. And let's take a look. Number 1. Now, I love you've got the stuff in the sky and making it look kind of old, and a whole bit shooting right into the sun with flare. But if you look at it closely, I like the way he puts subject on backgrounds and foregrounds. So we have this forward plane here, the up front, the foreground, so to speak, or level 1, level 2, level 3. These are the places that everything happens. We've got this great background up back here, the clouds and the flare. Then we've got the center ground, which are these guys running with the guy in the tire, and then the foreground, which gives us kind of a little bit of a nice feel about how what's the word I'm looking for? How the foreground fits in with the background. What's this texture all about here? Really, really nice. In the next shot, also for that calendar, we have the same thing. We've got this great background here. We've got the little bridge and the smoke. We've got the middle ground, which is where all the action's happening. And we've got this foreground, the rocks and the creek and all of that stuff to really help set the mood, the texture, everything about the shot. Now, at the time, I was shooting probably more individual shots, people some fashion and beauty, a little bit of that. But here we were in the agency. This was agency days, and we were really looking at how we could advance some of our photography. Now we were hiring photographers. I wasn't shooting it. I didn't shoot much for the agency. I did some, but not very much because we were just too busy. I couldn't pull myself away from overseeing about 5 different accounts as creative director and shoot at the same time. But I did shoot a few things. This was something that we showed our photographers to get a really good idea of how we wanted this thing to look. I mean, it's just a fantastic picture. It's just so much fun. Beautiful portrait here. Mark does a lot of black and white. Look how soft the portrait is. Look at those eyes coming right in there. Look at the way the light is all the way around here. Now we can see a catch light in the eye there, right? See that? That tells me there's something going on over there. Is it a strobe? Probably not. Is it a white card? Probably. Probably, you know, as they say. And then putting I love the background, don't you? So we've got the foreground of her eyes. We got the medium ground of her shoulders, and we got the background of these plants. And notice how he lets the plants come forward and then lets them go off into the blackness back here. Lots of mystery back here. The plants seem to be coming out of nowhere. I really like the way that sets off the skin tones of this young lady, all popping from that background, and yet the background is dimensional. She comes forward in a dimensional background like that. One of the things that I was so impressed by Mark. This is I believe it's a rather new picture. I think it's up on his Instagram, and I pulled it down because holy crap, I think that's cool. I have no idea what it is, some sort of pinned up something, but this is one thing you'll find out when you look at Mark's work. He is a consummate photographer. He just loves photography. He loves black and white and color. He likes people. He likes old trees. He likes old house trailers in the desert. I mean, he's just fascinating. And he's not a young guy. And I hope if Mark hears this, he doesn't take offense to that. I'm not a young guy either, Mark, by any stretch of the imagination. He's not a young guy, but he shoots like a young guy. He still shoots with that absolute total love of the imagery, the passion of making photographs, whether it's a celebrity or white curtains hung up with old clamps. Just love it. Here's a couple more shots from the distillery shoot. Really, really love this. Look at the light coming in over here. Then we've got light coming in over here to define the barrels there, and we've got light coming in over here to define the barrels there. So well lit, beautifully constructed shot. This is very much an advertising created moment here. This is probably not just just a happenstance shot. Could be. I have no, I wasn't there. Could be just natural light, but I have a feeling there's more going on here than that. I'll look at the highlights here, and I'll look at the highlight there. And I'll look at the light on this gentleman. Notice how that gentleman's looking right into the light, and that gentleman's over there in the silhouette. And it just pulls us right into these two here, doesn't it? I mean, everything leads us there. The truck, the barrels, this patch of light, everything leads us to these two guys, these lines up top. Super well constructed. Hatchet Man, or whatever you want to call it. Randy Goose Baxter. This is a gentleman from the Jack Daniels shoot, and is apparently a Jack Daniels employee. So got him out there. This is all a setup shot, as you can imagine. Was this composited? I don't know. Looking at what Mark does now, it's not terribly composited, but it may have been composited back then. Any way you look at it, it's an awesome shot. We got this great foreground of these two geese. We've got the middle ground, which is the gentleman with the hatchet, and we got the background, which is the clothes on a line, and the trees and that textury background. Everywhere we look, we have that same theme. Over here, we've got the foreground. Up front, look at all this hay. We got the texture there. We got the middle ground where the guys are, and then we got the background, which is this sort of out of focus, flare-filled wall. So everything is kind of matched. Now, I mentioned that he got into wet plates, and this is kind of what he started doing with the wet plates. And if you'll notice, that's I believe, an umbrella or a beauty dish. One of the things about wet plates is the ISO is very, very low. It's very, very low. I mean, you might have ISO of 10 or ISO of 15. I shoot paper in my 8x10, and the ISO is 6. I have to expose the paper at 6, ISO 6. So you get a lot of, if you're going to use strobe, you better have a really powerful strobe, and it's got to be pretty close because, on a view camera, you're not going to have f2.8 anyway. You're going to be down to 5.6, 6.8, 7.2, all kinds of, not that I can remember a 7.2 view camera lens, but you get the drift. There's a lot of f8 lenses. So f8 is the widest exposure you can get. And then it'll stop down to about f90. So can you imagine at f8, a portrait at f8 at ISO 10? You work out the numbers. Shutter speed is not very fast. So he also did some beautiful portraiture, some more classic commercial type portraiture. I really like this. I really like the natural way the face is presenting. Everything else is kind of muted back. And again, we've got foreground, and we've got middle ground, and we've got background, all clearly defined. The middle ground and foreground are of the same lovely young lady, but still it brings us to that layer effect, which is so important. He shoots a lot of, I guess, what I call real people, which is, I think, just fascinating. I don't know who these people are. Some of these people might be famous. Some of these people might just be a guy that delivered his van. I have no idea. He shoots a lot of very real type people. And I just love this. I would so love to have a 10 plate photograph of myself. Beautiful little child. And again, the eye is in focus. The dress becomes sort of a mid area, and the background. So kind of a foreground, midground, background, and using focus to create that midground. Last shot here for Mark is this great headshot of this gentleman, and I don't know if this is wet plate or, the background looks like wet plate. The foreground maybe wet plate or a large format camera of some sort. And I see that anomaly there, and I think, is that in the tree or is that something on the film? I don't know. But isn't this great? Isn't this great? Look at the depth of field. Just so sharp right here, so blurry in the background, so far out. That's one of the things I think it makes it definitely a long lens, because see how we're looking a little bit down at that? We're seeing the top of that little knot here, and we're seeing back here, everything is sort of vertical. For us to see that knot, it's got to be somewhere in the normal range of a lens. So think 50 on a full frame. Otherwise, if we had a very long lens like a 300 on a full frame, we would be coming straight across at that knot and not seeing it by looking down. The point of view, the field of view would be so narrow that everything would look like it was flattened out from a distance. I just really, really love Mark Taylor's work. Mark Tucker's work. Mark Taylor? I have no idea who Mark Taylor is, but Mark Tucker's work, it has been with me for a long time. I'm always watching it. I'm always getting a kick out of watching him reinvent himself again and again, which is something that artists do. And I hope that you enjoy it and look up his work. There's a bunch of links down below. a whole bunch of links. So once again, it's What Makes This Photo Great, number 20, Mark Tucker. See you guys next time.